Chapter 18. The next afternoon, I brought several plans left by Oh Young to their company. The company is small in size, renting a small half of the floor in a semi-old office building on the edge of the East Side Business District. There are more than a dozen employees, and the office area is simply divided into two studios and one conference room. Oh Young has a separate office, and the little bosses have to share a room with other colleagues. When I arrived at the company, I already noticed that the atmosphere was dignified and tense. I didn't see and Oh Young. In the large studio, everyone gathered together and had no intention of working. It was only when I met a colleague that I knew that Oh Young and were discussing cooperation intentions with the Japanese in the conference room, and it seemed that it was not going well. I nodded and went straight to the conference room. I suddenly forgot my manners. I reached out and opened the door. The two rows of people on both sides of the long conference table turned their heads at the same time. I noticed that my face was not good, and Oh Young's brows were slightly furrowed. The group across from them suddenly stood up at the same time and gave me a deep bow. I ignored it and motioned Oh Young and my to leave first. I turned around and watched the dark mahogany door of the conference room slowly closing. My pale and tired face gradually disappeared, her cheeks were strangely flushed, and her eyes flashed with inexplicable brilliance. I know that behind those eyes are cramped ambitions and desperate expectations. The moment the door was closed, I nodded slightly to my. I decided to help my fulfill her wish. I turned my face to look at the group of people with a blank face, and threw the folder on the table with a slap. I haven't seen Mr. Abe for a long time. Have you been promoted? Thank you for your concern, miss. I am now the head of the Overseas Business Development Department. So are you happy to work with our company? I asked quietly. Yes, very pleasant. The proposal submitted is very creative. Mr. Abe replied respectfully. I laughed coldly. Mr. Abe is really humorous. You mean the plans are all good, but nothing you want? Mr. Abe suddenly laughed. I found that some people are not suitable for laughing. They can be restrained, serious or humble. At least people think that he is very dedicated and decent, but once he laughs, his temperament is like a painting that has fallen into water and the paint overflows. I become annoying. Mr. Abe is such a person. The way he laughs, his facial features have shifted. If he compares it to a sound, it is an incoherent and broken sound played by the wrong hand during piano performance. Mr. Abe smiled and said, the plans are all good, but I don't have the right to decide. Miss is the decision maker. I felt very disgusted. I didn't want to be wordy anymore, so I picked up a document and pushed it over. That's it. You can talk about the details later, don't embarrass my friend. Yes, miss. Mr. Abe replied with a restrained smile and a straight face. After a pause, he finally couldn't help but add, Madam misses you very much, please come back to Japan when you have time. Isn't she always aware of my whereabouts? Why don't you suggest Madam to take a trip by herself when she have time? I said lightly, turning around and pushing the door to leave. I don't think my mother would really put down everything and come to see me because of what I said. Mom is a principled person. If she decides to let me go back by myself, she will never succumb to it. Of course, I don't think she will be like the sovereign lady in the soap operas, who will always send a line of minions in black with sunglasses to tie the rebellious young lady back. That's too out of style. Just as my mother has always liked the aestheticism of Lawrence Almaty Dima and Frederick Reston, but always hated the ukiyo-e that symbolized the world. As I know, my mother is a person with principles. Even if those were just her wishful thinking. Anyway, she is indulged in her own world, at least within her sphere of influence. She can adhere to those rules that may seem unnecessary to others. Everyone has the right to choose their own attitude towards life, right? Then I can do it too. When I got out of the conference room, I felt so tired. I raised my face, closed my eyes, and leaned against the wall. There is a heavy sadness hovering in my heart, and the falling person feels like it has been sinking and sinking. After a long time, I opened my eyes and saw my, who was standing against the wall on the opposite side, watching me silently. Oh Young was not present, probably returned to the office. I gave my a warm smile. It's done. I'll leave the rest to you. My didn't show the happy expression she should have, but her dark eyes lit up. Shall bye, she muttered. Hey beauty, please don't be so emotional. We are the best partner. I snapped my fingers and interrupted with a hippie smile, but that was a long time ago. Now you and Oh Young are partner, the best and invincible combination. Haha, it's the hardest to endure the grace of a beauty, but it's enough for that handsome devil to see. I waved of my hand, said goodbye and left. Maybe it's my delusion. I had already turned around and walked away a long way. When I turned the corner of the aisle, I sighed. Sad and helpless. Walking out of my line of sight, the corner of my mouth immediately hung down, and the shoulders that I had just raised with great effort also collapsed. I just feel powerless. Over the years, for some reasons, I have passively and taken the initiative to cultivate my personality. Unconsciously, I have become a quadruple. It seems gentle and warm, but actually a violent vulture. It is calm and easygoing on the surface, just because of indifference. It seems to be indifferent to fame and wealth, but never been short on food and clothing. Even if I was once generous and indulgent, it is out of emptiness and loneliness. I have been in such a ignorant way for 23 years, and I thought I had my personality to the greatest extent. In fact, it is all a layer of floating soil. With a gentle sweep, it immediately reveals the pale heart and the essence of nothingness. Like my mother, I also live in my own small world and have been out of society for too long. Oh no, it should be said that I has never been integrated and participated in it. My eyes only see myself, I refuse to look at others, and I disdain to look at the outside world. Come to think of it, I don't even have a real friend. Even my is actually just a further communication based on previous work partner. Friendship is obviously much more for me. It is said that feelings cannot be measured by material things. Maybe it is. Just like me and my, most of the time, I have been relying on righteousness and wealth. I even lent a considerable sum of money at the beginning for her business. I explained to her that the investment in stocks can be postponed indefinitely without interest. But that doesn't mean I put more sincerity into it. I just don't care. My gave me more care and love. Emotionally, I was humbled in front of my. I don't know if it's a cold nature. If I can completely break away from society, I think I'll probably choose to leave without any hesitation. Of course, no one can do it, so I live on the edge of society with self-pity and indifference. My is right, I do suffer from social maladjustment. That's just because I never intended to try to adapt. My face flashed in front of my eyes from time to time, her pale cheeks turned strangely red, and her eyes flashed inexplicably. The faint light flashed in her dark eyes. I suddenly felt heartache. I feel sorry for the waste of time. I also feel distressed for the tenacity and courage of my, who is weak but has been striving for it. End of chapter 18.